Hello, hello. Welcome back, what have you. Alright, let's get into things. So, I wrote out my thoughts for the day, kind of for my own benefit. Maybe it makes it easier to follow along, but I want to get started work on having a server spawn enemies. And to do that, first we'll have to make this data dictionary, which we have a data dictionary, and the purpose of that is to hold all of the deserialized content. But for enemies, we don't actually have a data file yet. So we will just plug in some mock enemies for now. That'll be fine for quite a while. And once we have that in there and available, we'll need something to handle the spawning logic on the server. There's a few places we'll want to spawn enemies, and that logic is roughly, you need to figure out what type of enemy wave to spawn. As you move through the game, you'll defeat waves and you'll have to spawn harder waves. So you have to figure out which tier do we need to spawn at this moment in time. Out of that tier, randomly select one of the waves. And then for that wave, on the server, we just have to apply that to game state. To figure out what enemies they are, who they belong to, and connect all those dots. And then that guy needs to represent that modification to game state as a server command so that can be sent out to clients. And then time allowing, what a client would do there is just respond to that command they received by updating game state. Obviously at some point we'll also want to spawn things, but that is almost certainly out of scope for the day. I think there's a fair amount to do in this step. So let's see. I think this is probably a good place to start. So our data dictionary has cards, an enemy dictionary. This is what I want. Yeah, so we want to populate one of these guys, which just has identifiers and descriptions for the waves and all the various enemy types. We'll do 2 waves, 2 enemies. And I don't think this guy does not exist in the application yet. He is only unit tested, so we'll need a way to get it in there. Hello, how are ya? And then we probably need a CPP for this. This off to the side here. Where is this? Game dictionary. All right. Oops. I want this guy. And what is in there? We've got cards, enemies, equipment. Cards we won't worry about. Equipment we won't worry about yet, but we'll do a little function just to load our mock enemies. Eventually all these things would be read from a data file. Only, as far as I know, only cards has a data file and working serialization. So build, actually, Yeah, we'll do it in here for now. That's an enemy dictionary. Enemy dictionary has enemy waves, enemy desks, enemy wave desks. All right. Enemy waves. Enemy desks. And then this guy will... Maybe I should do this. Should make it... This is a mock. Mock enemy dictionary. And let me throw oops. I feel like we have an issue for 55. Okay. Sure. So we will need, let's look at what we need here. A wave ID is just like a uint 16. Let's pull this guy out for a second. How many things do I want to do here? Ooh, do we have like a null enemy ID or anything that I'm gonna... ID, no, probably not. All right, so we'll have two enemies, whatever for now, to make descriptions for those. Wait a second. What's in the enemy? Enemy wave ID. Is this a UN16 too? It is. What do we want to do? I don't know. Those are separate. Skeleton. And then we want a description. Okay. So for the enemy desk, it's all pretty simple. I don't have cards, I suppose, to populate that. But the enemy won't be doing anything right now. We're just trying to get him spawned, so that's okay. Wisp ID, I don't know. wisp. Is that all I need to set? That can probably be empty. Actually, it can be empty for now. That's fine. GG wisp wave desk. That's not right. All right. Do the same thing. For now, I don't care about their stats all that much, but we will want to make them different once they're doing things. And this, no. Like that. Probably. And then what do we need for an enemy wave desk? It's right here. Wave ID needs a name, has a tier, and then the enemies that are in it. Okay. Why not? Wait, what? Actually, these, I don't even need those in there, but invalid aggregate initialization. Where? Equipment desk. There's an undeclared identifier. Is it now? Ooh. It does exist. In equipment types, in game types. Which, okay. Oh, we just did some refactoring. Okay, so that probably means only the cards are unit tested. Otherwise, those tests would not be building if we did anything with that. Which makes sense. If we don't have data files for these, I guess. There's not much to do with them yet. So we want... Okay. Where was that at? Equipment types. Game types, equipment types. We just need to be able to see that. Equipment dictionary. Equipment types, and you were unhappy about, oops, you're still unhappy about action desk. Yeah, that doesn't look like it exists. But we have this guy. As a okay, well that's fine. We're not really worried about equipment too much today. And maybe that might be roughly the same, or at least very similar to what we want for cards anyway. Card. Base it on that, or maybe rename that other type. But we won't be doing anything with that right now. Here. Looks like we did some refactoring, but don't have these types tested. Okay, or included anywhere. Where were we? This guy. So for, it's going to be whoops, ID equals that. Let me go back to that. So what does the uint8 do on, where was that? What it does is it sets the underlying type for the enum. So I think by default it's integer, or is it an unsigned integer? I don't even know. But if you specify some integral type here, then that's how many different entries you can have in your enum. So for these, we don't need more than 256. And keeping them small lets us put them into like network packets and pack stuff together efficiently. Here, I think we'll just do both of them as beginner tier for now. Enemies, we just want one, and that's going to be enemy ID, wisp ID. Okay. That looks right. And I'll make one for these, and then this one we probably want to put 2 enemies in it. I don't know. Skeleton twins. That works, then we can do, oops. Let's see, enemy waves are the IDs. We have 2 enemies. Desk. Skeleton desk. That guy does that. No. We need to make this guy. And we probably want to put him right in this main app class that has everything. But I don't know if, I don't think we want to call that function right in here, because maybe in a test I want to inject a different thing, maybe. Yeah, so we will, you'll want to own it though. So where's this guy? Game dictionary. Service factory, dispatcher. I don't know. We want to put it at the end. we make that guy. Okay, here's where we make that app. So we could probably just build the mock thing here. In the future, we could deserialize here and then just pass it down the line. Okay. The services. Put this guy first. I like having it first for some reason. And should do this so that we don't. We'll take ownership of it and just move it in. And okay, that should be good, but that's gonna break some stuff somewhere. Oh, first. Asset stub. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Now if we come down here, we can well, I suppose we could just do this. App test is gonna break too, but I wonder, do we need to build the whole thing right now? I'm just gonna put an empty one in here for the time being. Does that work? Yeah, because when I add tests, I might just add a whole test version of that to test like other tiers and things, and then it'll break when it breaks. Oh, we gotta move that in. Give it some kind of R value reference here. R value. Right? You know, don't you like that? All right. What the heck? Okay, the test doesn't break right now. Can we launch happily? Yeah, we don't know much. Seems fine. Okay. what's our next step? Let's see, we've got... Okay. So now we need some way to... We need somebody who's responsible for the spawning logic. And that's slightly different, well, very different on the server and the client. So we'll put this guy right in the server. Enemy spawner. We will want a few things in here. Okay. So to figure out which tier do we spawn from, we need to be able to randomly select, need to be able to modify game state, and then build a command to represent that modification. So for sure, we're going to want like a, what's this even called? Some random number generator in here. Yeah, okay. And you need to know about game state. State. You need to know about the game state manager, because that's who you're writing to. Yeah, we'll have to add a function in here to do the update. Here. Need to know a network message. So if I do like, what does the signature for this function look like? Spawn enemy. No, spawn wave. Enemy wave. We need to know for which player and the game state. And that might be in the dictionary to spawn from. So player ID, not const. Yes, to spawn on the server just means to manipulate game state. I think you'll build a server command, but not actually send it. We'll leave that up to somebody else. And then for the dictionary, would we have the dictionary everywhere we want to spawn a wave? Maybe we just, that never changes. Application launch, it's the same. So you're like default constructible, right? If I don't want a specific seed. You are. And now this guy needs a home. Where are we going to use him? We will use him. Okay, so last stream we were working on this guy. This is the first point we'll spawn enemies. Player turn start phase. When we move into this phase the first time, we'll have no enemies. Future turns we'd want to check if we have enemies. But there are other points we might want to spawn. Like if it's the middle of your turn and you defeat the wave, I believe the mechanic is you just spawn another one. So you can defeat multiple waves on your turn if you have the ability to do so. So this guy doesn't own it. I guess it's the game server. Hey there, thanks a lot. We are not using AI. Not opposed to it in any sense. Just my wife and I are both working on this, and we both have a lot of fun just working through problems on our own. Kind of the thing we decided. The game server. If the game server owns our enemy spawner, then no, maybe it's this guy. The game server does not care about that. It's the game coordinator, because he or it can pass that on to the phase map. That's the move. That's the move, because we just want like a reference to it in here, and then a reference to it any other phases we would spawn enemies. Game server itself would never spawn an enemy. It would always be under here. Okay. And I put you right in here. Server enemy spawner. You have to whoa. And you need a data dictionary, is that right? You need a data dictionary, which means you need a data dictionary. Propagate this all the way up. And not the phase map. Happy with that. And if you need a data dictionary, you need one too. All right. Game coordinator. Why did that delete my curly? But now what? Somebody else needs one too to pass it into there, and that's going to be like the, oh, it goes all the way up, right? No, a game instance. Oh, there's too many layers. Let's see here. Yep. When you spawn first. Not that guy. Not the instance manager. Where am I looking here? This guy. Okay. Let's do it at the end then. Actually, for right now, we have nothing to do with the data dictionary if we're just a client. It's only for like localhost or dedicated server that would use it. For now. This guy needs it. And you go in, ooh, here. That's right, isn't it? What don't you like about that? I'm not seeing what's wrong with that. I'll let the compiler tell us in a second. I do know we'll need one more. Could just hold on to this in the constructor. Because who's going to call these functions to pass it in? It'd be like the main menu UI, but the controller would have to have it. It has so many things. Should probably just have the app because I can just pull everything out. Really, the entire purpose of app is to hold on to all of these things and nothing more. But that's not a concern right now. User service game instance. Okay. We'll just pass it in the constructor here, because that will limit how many other call sites need to be updated, I think. Probably going to produce a crazy amount of tests that need to be updated for fairly easy reasons, I guess. Okay, but then every time you do something, where you make, no, not every time, just if you do a single player game, how do I do this? It's at the end of, yeah, here. Something like that. And then if you host a multiplayer game, you would need that too. If you're joining a game, you don't. If you're rejoining a game as a client, you don't. Hey there, how's it going? Experiment 21, remember me. Refresh my memory. Let's see if that builds. Of course it wouldn't build. There'd be absolutely no reason it would. I was unhappy about this. Hold on. Oh, I see. This is a... Of course. I'm good. How are you? That's wrong. Make unique. Okay. Oh, yes, yes. You were watching the stream to crack my game. I do remember. Okay, now we're into tests. Make. What am I eating? Just chewing gum. Gum and coffee. You need a data dictionary. I am not going to buy GTA 6 pre-order. It would take too much time away from making games. How about you? That guy's good. Where's the next one? Sure, we're not doing anything yet. This also in... Yeah, and then you, I put it, which order? It was last. I suppose while we're at it, app. I don't know. I guess we need a new category. Seems silly. I'm sure somebody will want to query this at some point. Oh yeah, yeah. That has 2 constructors. Seems like Kraken Games is always the solution for you. Why are you waiting to jailbreak your PS5? Store. No, that's not one of those. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Okay, you also need some stuff. First, second. Is that right there? No. Oh, I did it backwards this time. Right. Game server. Yeah. I don't know if I'm any good at Kraken games. I don't think I've ever attempted it. No, that's not true. Many, many years ago, I did. And I don't remember if it worked or not. It was a really simple, just like replace the binary, a binary check in the binary with like a no op of the same byte size. But that was like 20 years ago. I wouldn't know the first thing. it's a lot of tests. I've done some assembly. Trying to put these things in the order they would be constructed in. "20 years age, is that my prime time?" 20 years ago when I attempted to crack things. I was, oh man, how old am I now? 35 now. I think I tried to do that in high school. Holy moly, she keeps going. Executor. Hey, what's your question? Heyo. Yeah, hit me with your question. What's up? Oh, we've got to be nearing the bottom now. Right, 20 years ago, I'm sure things were wildly different. Hello. We made it through. All right. There's no way any of those tests care that that's empty, right? Oh, I spent so long doing that, I forgot what we were doing. Okay, so that guy gets all the way, it's not even all the way through yet. That was just to get the dictionary in the game coordinator. Here. Right? Boop. So it goes into the enemy spawner. That shouldn't have affected anything. We should just check if we crash or anything weird. Now we're fine. Boop. Okay. So now we want to get that enemy spawner into the phase we were working on. I'm just going to clean up everything. Close all. We want the game coordinator, the phase map, and the player turn start phase. We want to be able to call that enemy spawner in here. It lives over here. Where's that? It's yeah, okay. So not just network IDs, we need to know not enemy server. Server enemy spawner. Need to know about you, and you need to get that guy. I guess maybe. I don't know if there will be different types of spawners or not yet. Hey, Coding Bananas. Definitely more of the second. The engine was built kind of just for fun and learning initially. There's nothing about this game that would require a custom game engine at all. It's just there. My wife and I have been working on it for so long that it's easier to use what we've done. Like, we know more about it than other engines. And it's just fun because we spend so much time working on it. It's neat to see what it can do and figure out what we still need to do to work on it. Although I haven't worked on the engine in a long time, probably a year. I haven't needed to do anything. It's not to say it's done. There's plenty of things we could work on it, but it's working fine for everything we've needed so far. Yes. Way back, we did use Vulkan, or we do use Vulkan right now. Way back in the day, before I knew anything, it was first coming to C++ from Python. I used D3D11 and just did some simple stuff there. And then shortly after that, my wife was interested in working on it too, and she switched everything over to Vulkan. And we had our own custom Vulkan layer for a while. And then, I don't remember how long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we ended up switching that out for an abstraction layer called Diligent Engine. And I think right now we just use Vulkan under there. It just kind of simplifies some of the things that we need to do. Yeah, this guy needs server. What are we looking for? Server enemy spawner. Enemy spawner. Now this guy might. Where do you live? You live in a map. Okay, you're fine. How do you spell spawner? All right. No, we don't even have any private members yet. Is that right? Vulkan is really cool, and I do very little graphics programming. I know not very much about graphics. So Jer, my wife, did most of that. I did do a couple things here and there, and man, it's verbose, and you have to know a lot about what you're doing before you start. Otherwise, you're going to paint yourself into a corner. There's not very much hand holding. Yeah, we need. Oh, I guess you will have it there. Command Q. Does it matter where I put you? Server enemy spawner. Where are we at? Deleted function. Because specifically here? Okay. Right. Right. What? And we don't have a data dictionary in here. Okay, I'm just gonna. No. We'll be back in here anyway. Maybe. Yeah, coding bananas. I totally agree. It took a long time to get to this point, but I have a great example of being able to change things quickly. There's a game my wife and I were working on before this that context doesn't matter that much, but it was like a multiplayer game where you had to synchronize the physics state and the engine physics. I mean, this is like a lot of state to transfer across the network all the time when all we really need to do is send player input and do like a predict rollback. So like everybody runs physics with the latest player input, and then if you get it wrong, you just step back a couple frames and step forward. And to get the engine to change that behavior actually didn't require any engine changes at all. You just tell the engine, hey, don't build physics, and then you build the engine physics in your game and wrap it in like a predict rollback structure. That worked beautifully. So it's fun. It's fun to see the fruits of your labor pay off. Oh, no worries. Oh, did we build? We did it. Still, nobody should care about that. Okay, now we can get back to what we were doing. Which is to spawn an enemy wave. theoretically what we want to do do we want to spawn enemies here, or do we want to do it on the next phase? I'm not 100% sure on the order of these things. We will do it right here. Theoretically, all we want to do would be for... Okay. If a player has no enemies. I will assume for now that they don't, for simplicity. Oh, we want to do this for... Okay. That can happen in here. Spawn a wave for the current player. And then Q. Right. For every player, if they don't have any enemies, give them some enemies. Broadcast that. All right. Now, what do we need to do in this function? Yeah, I learned. I had been programming for a while before I started working on the engine, but the engine was very close to my introduction to C++. I don't know, maybe, I don't remember, years back. But I find if you just jump into something super deep, it can be helpful in the learning process. You don't return a value. So what do we want here? Player ID. Player ID. Ooh, do we have a... We even have a command for this yet? That's something we'll need. Draw a card, play card. Spawn wave. Right? Just spawn wave. Let's see, it's not a prompt, and the data would be just the enemy, wave ID, I think. Right? So we'll do serialized data. We'll actually have to figure out what this is, but once we do know, it's just like the serialize is just a cast there. I have done some work in C. Not an extensive amount of work. I'd say most of that is going to be like C interfaces around other libraries, like around C++ or what have you, or using some C library in a C++ project. That's reasonably common. I can't say I've never built like a C project from the ground up. I think everything that I've ever worked on has been primarily written in something else, but has a C interface around it, just for, it's like a lingua franca, if you will. Started with Unreal Engine. Making an entire engine is a bigger task. I actually tried Unreal Engine not that long ago, maybe 2 years ago. I tried it out for like maybe a month or so. And it's got a lot of cool features we have not implemented. But it's also really painful after having worked on your own thing to try to switch into somebody else's mindset, because things just work wildly differently. All right, so we need to know, I'm not quite sure how to do this. We need to figure out what enemy tier the current player is supposed to face. So, game state. Let's see what kind of data we have. The enemy tier player. Enemy waves? Defeated enemy waves. I guess that's a way to do it. Well, for now, actually, I don't know what breakdown we want to use next. So let's just stub that out. We'll say like what is point do we up the tier? Enemy tier. We only have the beginners right now anyway, so we'll start there. Then we also need to randomly select, which we can use this guy, but we just have like a flat map of all the enemies. So we need to find like, I know what it looks like right now. If we always deserialize the tiers in order, what does that look like? Where was I? Enemy types. Enemy dictionary. So we have a vector of the enemy wave descriptions. If we always deserialize them in increasing difficulty, then when we, on construction of our spawner, what we could do is just like rip through that and pick out where the splits are, like where does begin, end, and what have you. Beginner tier And what do we want to do for that? Okay, for the actual game right now, not the actual game, for the prototype we won't have all the tiers, but when I go to write tests for this, I'll make sure that works for all of them. I think that's fine. What do we want to do? I want to go, what's in here? Data dictionary. I can type it. Enemies, desks. Suppose since we want to do this all the time, I was going to use an algorithm just to find it, but we'll actually want to search for a bunch of things. What's it called? Oh, not enemies, enemy waves. Where is this? Enemy wave desk. Tier, right? What do I want to do here? I guess I will default initialize all of these. And 0.1 past the end so we can make an iterator out of it. If the tier equals enemy wave tier, well, we'll want something probably different when we add the other tiers. Oh. You just find that one now, but we'll have to go through and find all of them. Something like that. I didn't do anything with this. So, and there we'll probably want like a view tier function. Yeah. So I want to go through this enemy dictionary and say, hey, what subset of this vector is the tier that I want. We want to get a, well, why don't I just do this? Okay, I want the whole. Out of the desks. So we will span from beginner will be at the beginning. Desk.begin to desks. Oh wait. I guess if we just tracked the count of them, I'm gonna treat it like an iterator for now. That might not be the best move. Plus beginner tier end. Whoops. Where is the assert? Debug? Hello, not Kakarot. GTD Coder, you're also writing a game engine in C++. How's it going? What's your major goal with your engine? Yeah, we still didn't do that. Okay, so no, what did I say? View tier. And then we want to tier size. No, it's not our wave ID. Random selection equals RNG between. Is this inclusive? Just double check the actual range value. This is not really between then, is it? All right. Between 0 and tier size, and then our wave ID is tier view right. Nope. That's the whole desk description. That's just the ID. Let's think through that. Really? Oh, yeah. So if the server wants to spawn an enemy for a player, right now we're just assuming it's coming from the beginner tier. We will look for the sub-range of all of the desks. Just get a contiguous view of the desks of that tier, get the size, pick a random number between 0. Ooh. This is like an off by 1 thing, right? Because that's inclusive. We don't ever tier size. We don't ever want to call that if we have an empty tier. Right now we only have that, so let's make sure we're doing that. And then because that range is inclusive, we want to subtract 1. For fun, well, actually, never mind. Okay, we pick a random index into our tier and just get the ID. Then we use that ID to update the game state and add those things. Add the enemies. Return a command for that player to spawn a wave with our wave ID, and that lets the clients do this same move. Okay. I wonder, maybe I should put some tracing in here, because I think some of this should run, right? We get in here. I'll trace over here. We spawning enemy wave for player Baba. Data player ID. I don't think kind of expect clients will pick this up right off the bat. They should. No, not command Q, command processor. And this is like a more common thing. Let's put it closer to the top. Spawn wave, we called it. Okay. So after the server sends this out, clients will pick it up and churn it through this process function. If we see that, we'll just log. Why don't we log the same thing? And then whatever we do, where was that? Here. And here we do something to game state. And whatever we do there is the same function that we call here. But I think we should be able to log stuff without crashing. think I need to do multiplayer for this necessarily. I just use bots. It should work fine. I don't know. Boom. Oh, you know what I should do? We're going to be stuck here. Yeah. So at the beginning of your... Oh, no. Wait a second. Wait a second. What happens first? Shouldn't something have happened there? Oh no, it's way up here. Ah, I was totally overlooking it. Okay. So we spawned enemy wave 0 for everybody. Should be possible for that to come back as 0 or 1. Everybody responds there. Let's see. And then yes, these are all indented for readability. Oh. It is possible they all just came back as 0, I guess. Unlikely it would happen twice in a row. Okay. Okay, so we probably have I'm not too concerned about that because I have to rewrite this anyway. But what we need to do is something needs to happen with the game state. No, let's go into here. When we go to spawn a wave. No, add. Is it spawn? Now what happens though? Enemy, it's like, so there's a list of all the enemies. Okay, every currently alive enemy. What goes where? Because we have this to... Well, definitely we put the ID in here. Enemies. This needs to index that other vector. I don't love that that's the enemy ID because that means enemy ID has like two concepts it's representing. It's an index into here. But then within here is the actual ID, which is an index into the... No, not even an index. It's not an index in the data dictionary. It's an identifier that maps to a description, one of those structs. Okay. Not game coordinator. So, for sure, state player, enemy waves, player ID. It's in here. Wait, hold on a second. There can't be more than one living enemy wave for a player. They have one wave at a time, right? Is that true? I'm not sure exactly what Jer had in mind here. Let's see. For oncoming enemy waves. Was she thinking about spawning all of them right in a row? Boom, boom, boom. Maybe. Which that's okay. If that's the plan, we can change stuff pretty easily. By just spawning a couple of waves. We'll assume maybe that's the plan because you can see a little bit. You're like progressing through a dungeon. Maybe you want to be able to see things in the distance. And in order to do that, we need to know something about that. Hey there. Okay, we'll keep it a vector, and we will push back onto it, assuming that's the plan. And I'll double check with her later today. Okay, so we want to add that wave ID. Enemies in current wave. Index into... Okay. No, not here. Oh, well. So 4. Where's enemy stats used? I don't remember ever. Okay, okay. Got it. So, we're going to spawn a wave. We need to know the data for it. Wave desk equals... Well, you don't have the dictionary? Who will have it? Depending on who ends up calling this, we might just want to cache that data dictionary in there. That would be fine. We'll think about that a little bit later. Okay. And you're not going to build without a forward declaration. Okay. Data dictionary. What are you mad about? Incomplete type. Maybe it is such that these IDs are always intended to be ordered so that I can always use it as an index. But if that were the case, we would not need the flat maps here. So like here we've got an array of, or a vector of a wave ID and then a vector of desks. Those presumably are in sync, and these are presumably in sync, which looks like a map to me. If this is an index into here, I don't need to track this, because if I have the wave ID, I can get the desk just by indexing that. And if I have a desk, I can get the well, it stores the ID inside of it. So I feel like there might be two things represented here. I've got to clarify what was intended there. But I do know for right now they are direct indices because we added those mock types. Enemies, we want the wave desk at wave ID. And then, so we want to, oh, it's a strong type.
every enemy in that wave. Add the enemy ID here. I think we just need to populate these. I'm not sure about this enemy cards either. What's in here? Oh, no, that does make sense. That does make sense. Push back. Enemy ID. Place back. What do we have? Max health, health regen, armor statuses. We'll go one step at a time here. So we want a function that builds the enemy stats based on the desk. There are no cards for the enemy right now. Well, it's the same thing because we're in the enemy desk. There are no weapons whatsoever right now. Push back something. And then once we have those, what's this? I think I do need to know what the plan was with this. So I can just push that back. Enemies in current wave. And then the let me do this. Let me store this guy up here. Player waves. So add the wave every time we spawn, and then for every enemy in that wave, for now, we'll push back, I guess. Hold on. I'm going to push back the size of this. which will never be 0 because we just pushed back onto it. Enemy ID. You probably explicitly need a UN16, but whatever. Okay. And do something funky there. Why don't you like that? Player waves. Oh no, it's player waves dot enemies in current wave. For every enemy in that wave, push it back. Push the index back onto there. It's approaching 6 o'clock in the morning for me, which is going to be my cutoff time here. If this runs and logs without crashing, I might call it there. And I'll have to clarify what the expected behavior is with these IDs to make sure. Fingers crossed this doesn't do anything wacky. Okay. So I do have to clean this stuff up. Yeah, it looks like we've got like an off by 1 in here. Have to clarify what those indices should be, how they should behave. But I might clean that up a little later today. And then next time I stream, I'm hoping to work on client side. We'll actually want to spawn some things in here. So once we've done this, command processor process, that's the client. Oh, yeah. So we spawn enemy wave, we should have a little something pop up for us here. Cool. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time.